first Apple retail store. Tim cooks up a Bollywood storm. Vada pav, business and big buzz. Apple's big bite.
India Today, the only channel that Apple CEO Tim Cook has spoken to. That big exclusive interview right after opening India's first official Apple store. It doesn't get bigger than this. India has taken a big bite out of Apple, and India Today scores the first big Apple CEO interview this time round. I'm Shiv. All of the Apple hoopla coming your way. The headlines first. Chilling threat tapes of Atiq and son Asad to contractors and builders have started to emerge after their death. Threat calls reveal how Imesh Pal murder was plotted. Chief Minister Yogi hails law and order under UP Police. NCP leader Ajit Pawar refutes speculation that he is going to join with the BJP, says no truth behind rumours, asserts that there are no talks with the BJP over alliance, but he's a shifty character and could make a move anytime. Supreme Court questions parole granted to Bilkis Bano's rapists. Next hearing to be held on May the 2nd, says Gujarat government should give reasons for convicts' release and should reveal information if nothing was against the law. Historic hearing on same-sex marriage in top court. Petitioners seek equality at par with heterosexuals. Chief Justice of India slams the government, says understand the issue first, says how to pass order in absence of law. It's the biggest tech exclusive of 2023. Apple CEO Tim Cook speaks only and only to India today after the flagship store launch in Mumbai, says very excited about Apple's new India journey. The big Apple in India, well, the real Apple in India, opening the doors of its first ever official retail store in the swanky Bandra Kurla complex, or BKC, in Mumbai. Thousands of fans thronged the store before its launch by Apple CEO Tim Cook earlier today. Well, Tim spoke exclusively to India Today's Ayush Elavadia, tech editor, just hours after that launch. The only channel or agency or newspaper or website that Tim Cook has spoken to on his India trip thus far. It's a big national exclusive. He speaks, as you will see, on Apple's flagship launch in Mumbai and what Apple, one of the biggest and most respected tech companies, is planning for its onward expansion in India. It's all very exciting. Big national exclusive.
Ladies and gentlemen, on Tech Today, we have a very special guest. In fact, one of our most special guests yet on the show. I'm joined by none other than Tim Cook. Tim, what a pleasure to meet you.
What a pleasure to be here. And hello, everyone.
Hello, but we got a namaste moment when you did open the first Apple store over here.
Yes.
That energy, I can imagine, was palpable, Tim. At an Apple store opening here, so much manufacturing happening in India. Is it safe to assume that the focus is now on India? It's India's moment when it comes to Apple.
Oh, India is at a tipping point, and it feels so great to be here. You can just feel the vibrancy, the dynamism, the feeling that anything here is possible, and it's so great to be a part of it. I feel so great to be back.
You know, it's an interesting market. It's the youngest population in the world. We're seeing so many people here, design school, aspirational, tech savvy. When you're looking at the Indian market, does it require a unique approach? What's the strategy like for India?
Every place is unique. You know, India has its own journey and its own culture, and so you really have to understand the local culture, I think, to do well in a country. And so we're trying to bring our best to India. We brought the online store a few years ago. We brought now a retail store. We'll expand the retail presence on Thursday with a store in Delhi. We have manufacturing here. We have an extraordinary developer community here. We have musicians. It's great to interface with the artists and the creators here. So there's a huge Apple community in India.
And we're pleased that you're delighted to be here. But you said before that you are excited about India. You are bullish about India. What are the top 3 things that really excite you about India?
I'm excited about the culture. I'm excited about the people. I'm excited about this feeling here that is hard to describe, but you know it when you feel it. The vibrancy of it all, the energy, the enthusiasm. I'm excited about all of those things.
Tim, the energy when you were here the last time around, is there genuinely an increase in the energy levels?
I think there is. I think there is. Maybe that was, maybe COVID shook us all. I'm not sure. But it feels like there's even more energy now than there was before.
And very quickly, I would love to get your views, Tim, on the buzzword nowadays, which is artificial intelligence. Are you bullish on artificial intelligence? What is your take on AI in 2023?
I'm very bullish on AI. And in fact, it's at the root of so many of our products today. You know, like the Apple Watch. If you run an ECG, you're using artificial intelligence, machine learning. If you fall and the watch calls your fall detection, it's using AI. And so we use AI across all of our products, and I think it is a profound technology.
All right, very quickly to wrap up, we're going to do a rapid fire with just one answer with you.
Okay.
And
is this going to be hard?
I hope so. We hope to put you on the spot. That's what we do on Tech Today. But we're going to start off with, you can give me a one-word answer. I know the whole world knows what you ate for dinner last night. It happened to be Mumbai's famous vada pav. So vada pav or New York hot dogs?
Oh, no comparison. No comparison.
You have to pick one.
I'm for India all the way.
Vada pav for Tim. That's an exclusive. The one Apple device from the ecosystem that you don't leave home without, or you couldn't leave home without.
That's like asking you your favorite child or your favorite parent. When I travel, I've got my phone in my pocket, I've got my watch on my wrist, I have an iPad and a Mac in my bag, and so I love them all.
He's got the entire ecosystem like a lot of us. Bollywood or Hollywood?
Oh, that's a tough one. I love both. Last night I met a lot of Bollywood people, so I'm going to say Bollywood.
There you go. Tim's got all the questions spot on. The last one, when will we see you in India next? Because it's been a long, arduous wait for you to come back.
It's been too long. Soon.
There you go. There you go, Tim. What an absolute pleasure to have you with us in India on Tech Today, and we wish you the best.
Great seeing you. Great seeing all of you.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
what a pleasure.
It's great.
Should we get one nice photo, please?
Yes.
Yes, please.
And the man who scored that big national exclusive is India Today's tech editor Ayush Ehlawadi, who's live with me, as you can see, from the store itself. Ayush, what an incredible day. Big opening. India Today, covered it beautifully. And then for Tim Cook to be on the channel, couldn't have asked for better. But you were right there with Tim. That vibe looked really good. He sounded really hopeful and he sounded very happy, Ayush.
Shiv, goosebumps, even whilst I was listening to the interview play out on your show. It's a moment where you can't even really recollect what happened. It's gone by in a flash. But the good thing is, it's an exclusive for India Today. I'm so glad that it's for Business Today, for Tech Today. But it's a big deal for tech enthusiasts here in India. I've been, elated all day. I walked into the Apple store. The first media house was the India Today group to walk into the Apple store. You've seen our coverage on India Today, on Aaj Tak, on Business Today. And the minute you walked in, there were scenes of jubilation all over. And Tim was there as well. But I wasn't even prepared for what was coming my way over here. It was one of the most scintillating experiences. And he was so frank. He was so frank with everything that he said. He was really candid, and I really appreciate that. And more importantly, the focus, Shiv, and it's been your continuing coverage I've seen over the past couple of weeks here at the India Today group, that the focus is on India. And that's the big exclusive coming out of here. That, and of course, that he prefers vada pav over hot dogs.
I'm going to go with him on that. I mean, Mumbai's vada pav and New York's hot dogs, no comparison whatsoever. So I think that was the correct answer. But, Ayush, Tim Cook, had very, very big shoes to fill after Steve Jobs. And he did it in an incredible way. He's led, there were so many people who said Apple would wither and die after Steve Jobs. But Tim Cook sort of took a company from the Steve Jobs era and made it even bigger, even better, more profitable, more innovative. And this whole new journey in India now is so exciting. I mean, of course, it's a store now, but they want to manufacture more things as well here.
Absolutely. The entire supply chain, the whole gamut, that's what it's all about. And you're talking about innovation. So much is said about innovation in the tech world, but Apple is the gold standard for a lot of us. We went to unsuspecting consumers at the Apple store. People had driven all the way down from Pune, and they randomly said, I said, why don't you have another company's tablet? Just a genuine question. They say, is that even a question? That's the answer I got, because that's the level of advancement in tech that they've gone on with. A very consistent design language, a huge attention to detail, an ecosystem which is unparalleled. So innovation is there. And when you're talking about India, the last time Tim was here, all the glitz and glamour aside, Apple had less than 1% of the smartphone market. Now, it's grown so exponentially in leaps and bounds that they have nearly 5%. You can only imagine how this gets better with this big India push, a localization push, a push on sustainability, and make in India it is, Shiv.
It is. Someone just reminded me that it's been exactly 10 years since I made the switch from a different phone to an Apple phone, and I've never gone anywhere, without it. I've always been on an Apple phone. I'm part of the Apple cult, as it were. People frequently say that Apple customers are not really customers. It's all part of one big cult, and that's the kind of frenzy you see outside the store. None of that is manufactured. None of that is rented or paid for. The people that Ayush spoke to, the people that Ayush captured on his cameras, those people who were screaming behind Tim Cook there, that was all organic, that was all real, that was all spontaneous. These are people coming from all over the place, because Apple, for them, is not just a company selling phones. It's a state of mind, it's a culture, it's an experience, it's a way of life. Ayush, congratulations on scoring that amazing big exclusive. We're going to be playing it all day today. I can't wait to see what day 2 of Tim Cook's arrival in India is going to look like with the government here as well. But very, very exciting. Ayush, thanks so much for that, and congratulations once again. Well, the Big Apple is finally in India in the most visible way. Apple has been in India because they've been selling their phones here for a long time. They've been manufacturing them here for a while now. But a Big Apple store is that lovely cherry on top, opening the doors of its stunning and first ever retail store in Mumbai's BKC area. Here are the biggest images in case you missed them. Well, after all that anticipation, Apple welcomed customers to the iconic BKC store. Apple CEO Tim Cook inaugurated the company's flagship retail outlet in Mumbai to customers who waited in a queue from early morning before the sun had risen. India today was one of the first to make its way into the Apple store. Like many others across the world, it's an architectural and environmentally friendly marvel. From a genius bar to Apple specialists on site for customers, the Mumbai flagship store will hold inventory of any and all Apple products. Well, Tim Cook personally inaugurated the store. He's created plenty of Bollywood buzz before the launch. Cook shared the iconic Mumbai Vada Pav with Bollywood star Madhuri Dixit. While at the store launch, stars like Raveena Tandon, A.R. Rahman, Shilpa Shetty, Neha Dhupia, among many others, struck a pose with Tim Cook. Well, many Apple loyalists showed up for the grand opening for the Apple Mumbai store. One of these loyalists presented CEO Tim Cook with a Macintosh SE. That's right, an antique Apple machine dating all the way back to 1984. The Macintosh SE is a 2 megabyte black and white computer system launched in 1984 by Apple's founder and Tim Cook's predecessor, the iconic Steve Jobs. Another Apple enthusiast waited outside the Apple store since 8 p.m. the previous night. That's 15 hours to meet Tim Cook. But that isn't all. This Apple fan's wish was granted as he not only became the first person to enter the store, but he also got the Apple CEO to sign his 10-year-old iPod gadget. The store is now open. If you're in BKC in Mumbai, you can visit the store, marking the start of a new innings for a company in the country. According to reports, more than 5,000 hardcore Apple enthusiasts were at hand to cheer the opening of the store at the Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai, leaving behind some incredible moments. Take a look. Long queues of Apple enthusiasts patiently waiting for hours. Staff in green cheering Apple's first Indian store before it opened for customers. CEO Tim Cook interacting with Apple employees before he pushed open the doors to the flagship BKC store in Mumbai, marking a special moment for Apple in India. Customers who'd been waiting in lines for hours for this moment trickled in, welcomed to the store by Tim Cook himself, taking selfies with him. Exchanging greetings with the Apple CEO himself. There were special moments as well, with an Apple fan bringing a Macintosh SE to the store, proudly displaying it to Tim Cook. A young girl with a drawing she had specially made for him. The mood inside the store was electric. A fact that even Tim Cook acknowledged in a tweet after some of the excitement had died down.
Scenes of jubilation here from the Apple Store in BKC. Yesterday we gave you an exclusive first look here on Tech Today, on Business Today. But today the doors have been opened by none other than Tim Cook. And we were the first people to enter, along with, of course, the most important person in tech, which is the consumer. So now that the customers are here, and everyone's been asking what's so special, kya farak hai Apple Store mein compared to an authorized premium reseller, let's ask a few customers, are they truly excited? But just to give you some perspective, look outside at the lines. It's reminiscent, oddly reminiscent of India's Starbucks moment, where we had Starbucks opening in Mumbai, and yet again, Amchi Mumbai has that moment here at the Apple Store in BKC.
The rush, the energy inside the store was incredible. The Apple Store, India's first, reportedly has more than 100 expertly trained professionals to handle queries and sales, but even they were overwhelmed with the massive day one response.
We've been dying to come here, and we can't believe that we're here. I thought the first Apple Store I'll visit would be the one in the US, but I'm so happy. We had driven, we woke up at 3:30, we got ready, we drove from Pune, that's nearby, and these are my parents.
We are Apple crazy family.
You get to put your hands on to each and every Apple model. And all the watch bands are here, all the speakers are here, all the AirPods are here, all the Macs are here, all the iPads are here, all the iPhones are here. And you've got like these beautiful Apple people around.
The next stop for Apple fans is the company's second store in Saket, New Delhi, which is set for a similar high-energy opening on Thursday. This will be followed by more such stores in the next few months, ensuring a pan-India presence for a company which has depended on franchises till now. Apple's true journey in India has just begun. With Ayush Elavadi in Mumbai, Bureau Report, Business Today Television. Now, if you know anything at all about Apple, you know that the Apple Store isn't just a retail store. It isn't just a dukaan where you go in, put some cash on the counter and take a phone and walk out. It is built to be a kind of experience. You're supposed to remember it and appreciate the architecture and all the features and really go away with a memory of having interacted with Apple. It's supposed to be a cultural and uplifting kind of experience. Let's tell you a little bit about this store that's opened, the first in India. It's situated in the Geo World Drive at Bandra Kurla complex. It covers about 22,000 square feet. It is reportedly inspired by Mumbai's Kali Pili taxi art on the inside. A wide inventory of all Apple products, including the very latest, will be available at this store immediately. Apple specialists, like salespersons, but those on site to aid customers in making a decision are there. There's a Genius Bar for hardware repair and tech support at this very store, and free and daily Today at Apple sessions by Apple creatives for anyone who walks in there. And it's also one of the world's most energy efficient stores. It's supposed to be green retail. It has a dedicated solar array and operates completely on renewable energy. That's one of the focus areas as far as Apple is concerned. Now, Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, has a packed schedule ahead of him. On his first day in India, Tim Cook had a meeting with the Ambanis at Antilia, their skyscraper home in Mumbai, as well as Tata Group chief N. Chandrasekaran. Both are critical to Apple's plans in India. Reliance as a retail and mobile services partner, and Tata as a major manufacturing partner. He also had Vada Pav with actor Badri Dixit and appeared in several selfies with musician A.R. Rahman, cricketer Anil Kumble, actor Rakul Preet Singh and producer Boni Singh. Tomorrow, the Apple CEO is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Minister of State for Information and Technology Rajiv Chandrasekhar. He's also expected to have meetings with other officials as well as his manufacturing partners in India, Foxconn, Pegatron and Wistron. This will be followed on Thursday with Cook opening the first Apple store in Delhi. And with the big spotlight on Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple and the big tech company's big India plans on the back of the first store opening in the country, I'm joined now by Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar. He's Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology and one of the few government leaders that Tim Cook will be meeting on other than the Prime Minister himself. Minister Chandrasekhar, a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time here on India Today. My first question to you, sir, is Tim Cook. You know, lots of media hoopla, very, very understandable because, you know, Apple is a company that commands a huge cult following all over the world. Many people have been waiting for this store for a very long time. You're going to be meeting Tim Cook tomorrow. Give us a little insight into what that meeting is going to be about.
No, I obviously, look, Tim Cook's arrival here and visit to India is an important thing at many levels, including the fact that one of the world's largest corporation, the CEO of one of the largest corporations of the world is visiting India, not just to open a store, but to explore the expansion of the Apple-India partnership. And as you know, Shiv, the Apple, along with Samsung, the two real global brands that have made India its home over the last 2 years, are not just making India its home, but making India a very significant part of their these changing global value chains or supply chains, which are going through sort of a redrawing post-COVID. And India, which is just 9 years ago, which was an insignificant player in electronics manufacturing, is now becoming a leading source for Apple made in India manufactured Apple products for export to the world, to consumers all around the world. So I am hopeful that Mr. Cook's visit to India will further strengthen further expand the Apple presence in India, in manufacturing, in design and engineering, and the whole ecosystem that the Apple brand represents. It is a significant opportunity for India and Indian startups and Indian manufacturing in particular. And I'm hopeful that this visit will give him the confidence to make India really a strong partner for Apple's global ambitions and global value chains.
Should we be expecting anything specific, from meetings with government tomorrow? Because we do know that Apple wants to do a whole lot more. What is the government expecting the next big step by Apple to be?
No, I don't think we will look at the Apple-India relationships as some sort of a digital big aha moment or a wow moment, Shiv. I think this is a relationship that has significantly expanded over the last few years.
Yeah.
The numbers are, the Apple exports from India are doubling every year. And that the Prime Minister has set a target of $300 billion of electronics manufacturing by 2026-27, of which $120 billion will be exports. And this year alone, we will cross $10 billion of exports of smartphones as a category alone. And so therefore, I think we are well poised to look at this opportunity that is in front of India and Indian enterprises and Indian states.
Yes.
Of really becoming embedded into Apple's global supply chains in a very significant manner. And I am, assuming and hoping, and of course it is also as a safe assumption that these visits go a long way to showing Apple's leadership.
Absolutely.
The big difference and the big progress India has made in the last 4 or 5 years, because there was always this perception about India 10 years ago about being a difficult country to invest in and do business in. And after the Prime Minister has made the focus on ease of doing business, the biggest investors and the largest enterprises around the world are making a beeline for India, making investments and manufacturing from India. And that in turn for India represents jobs, opportunities, growth, all of that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you specifically about that, Minister, because the very compelling images coming out, from Mumbai of that first store opening are also a reminder that about a decade ago, Apple wasn't really looking at India. I think there was this famous quote about India not being considered a strategic market. But all of that has dramatically changed in the last 7-8 years. How did that happen?
I use this example whenever people ask me about how much has India changed. I use a simple example of the smartphone category.
Yeah.
In 2014, Shiv, about 82-83% of all mobile phones consumed in India were imported, and we were exporting zero. We are in 2022-2023, almost 100% of the mobile phones consumed in India are assembled in India. Or manufactured in India, and we are becoming a significant exporter of the same category. As a matter of fact, next year, mobile phone exports will be crossing textile exports and will be amongst the top 8 or 9 exports from India.
Amazing.
So I think that the travel of India, the travel of the Indian manufacturing sector over the last 8-9 years has been very, very significant. And the fact that most of Apple's ecosystem of manufacturers, the Wistrons, the Pegatrons, the Foxcons, all have set up large plants in India, have provided employment, investment and employment for lakhs of Indians. Is a signal to Apple that India is not just ready to play in the big league, but in the big Apple league. And Apple for India represents manufacturing, it represents app innovation, it represents the whole hardware space, as well. So Apple represents for India and India represents for Apple, I believe, a very significant win-win opportunity for the India-Apple partnership.
Very true, Minister. And I wanted to, ask you specifically about the whole, the comparisons are frequently made with China. When it comes to Apple's manufacturing, at this time, there is no comparison. A vastly more, measure of manufacturing is taking place in China. But there has been a visible movement of some of that work towards India. Do you see more of that happening in the years ahead?
Oh, absolutely. I think, notwithstanding China's performance over the last 3 decades, and there is certainly an awakening up of the world. I'm not talking in particular about Apple, but to the world of manufacturing in general,
Yes.
that this concentration in one geography was never a great idea. It ended up like that for issues of costs and global trade and all of that. But I think the world has woken up to the need to have much more diversified, much more trusted global supply chains. And that is an opportunity for which India is very well prepared. Over the last 6-7 years, the confidence and the capability in manufacturing, many states also stepping up in partnership with the government of India and creating ecosystems that are very, very amenable and friendly for manufacturing investment, have all signaled to the Apples and the Samsungs and indeed all manufacturing companies that India is a very viable, very friendly, easy place to invest in, manufacture and export to the world. So I think that story is increasingly getting a lot of traction. And I am not saying India does not have competition. Vietnam is a competitor. Other countries are competitors.
Yes.
But certainly we are we're all hands on deck, and we want to be a major player. And as the Prime Minister has laid the target for us of 300 billion by 26-27, we are certainly working very hard to ensure that we meet those targets.
And this does send out a very big message, does it not, Minister? That, Apple, after all these years, many hurdles crossed, has finally put its foot in the door, has committed, a lot of resources in India. This sends out a message to industry, and this could have a spillover effect with more, big tech and more manufacturers making their way into India.
Oh, absolutely. In the world of technology, Shiv, there's absolutely no doubt, even amongst the volatility that we see amongst the big tech companies in the world, that Apple is really, in a sense, the pole star. It is a company that is setting standards in many, many areas, in privacy, in terms of innovation, in terms of performance, in terms of designing devices for the next generation.
Absolutely.
The brand itself. So I think in a lot of ways, it does represent one of the leading brands in the tech space. It is certainly one of the harbingers of the future of technology, if you want to call it that. I may be getting a little bit flowery with my prose to describe Apple, but it is certainly, without any doubt, one of the leading tech beacons. So I think the fact that they choose to partner with India, and that India can partner with them, and India offers a market and consumers and innovators to them, is, in my opinion, good for the world, good for India certainly, and good for Apple.
One final question, Minister. You've literally seen this industry inside out. As an entrepreneur, as a businessman, and now as minister. So you've had an unusually wide-ranging perspective of this sector. In your view, and that's my final question, do you have a gut feeling that we are on the threshold of something really big here?
Oh, absolutely, Shiv. We have all, as Indians, gone through those days when Nokia, with the large plant in Chennai, had to shut shop and run away from the country. And it sent such a signal to the rest of the world about the difficulties of doing business in India. This is just 8, 9, 10 years ago, just a decade ago. And now to come full circle, to be at a situation and to be so honored and privileged to be participating in the fact that these global brands are looking at India, making India its home, making these large investments, creating products for the world's consumers from India, giving lakhs of Indians an opportunity to work and creating jobs here. I think this is really unprecedented in so many ways for me personally, and I think anybody who's been a spectator or a participant in this electronics industry. So it is without overstating it. Certainly, we are living in extremely interesting times, and the future bodes very well for. I mean, the future of electronics is, in my opinion, is very bright indeed for India.
Well, we certainly look forward to all the exciting things in this sector that lie ahead. Minister Chandrasekhar, thanks very much for being with us. Have a great meeting with Tim Cook tomorrow, and we'll connect with you once again. Thanks so much for being with us here on India Today.
Thank you, Shiv.
Well, Apple's big bet on India is not a spontaneous decision, but a well thought out long-term strategic decision taken to hedge its bets in an increasingly restive geopolitical scenario. So what are the big reasons for the smartphone bellwether's shift to India? Business Today TV with this special report.
Apple has finally said namaste to India, opening the first of its iconic stores in Mumbai. The BKC store will soon be followed by another Apple store in Delhi. This is the first time Apple will be opening up a retail store in the country. And Apple fans are excited to the core. But does Apple have enough fans or users to open up chain of stores in India and then sustain them? In 2022, Android held an over of 95% operating system market share in India, leaving only about over 4% share for Apple's iOS. So despite a low market share, what really is Apple's motivation to expand operations in India? Apple's India expansion is a part of its China Plus One strategy. For decades, China has been Apple's primary playground for assembling and exporting. But it all came to a grinding halt last year when the iPhone factories were shut for the longest time due to China's zero-COVID policy. This shutdown impacted Apple more than it had anticipated, and it led to waiting times of months for its top models in the peak festive season. And so came the Make in India push, helping Apple diversify its supply chain out of China and expanding in India. The production-linked schemes have already aided Apple's contractors Foxconn, Wistron and Pegatron.
This seems like a strong localization push. Apple says that this, of course, is one of the most sustainable stores in the world, with a top-level certification as well. A huge zero fossil fuel push happening here at this particular Apple store. But that's not all. When you talk about Apple's strategy in India, it seems like the focus and the shift away from China means that India is top focus now for Apple.
Well, as per reports, these contractors have exported over 47,500 crore rupees of iPhones in 2022-2023. Well, that's more than half of India's total phone shipments. The company also was the first to export over $1 billion of iPhones in the month of December. Not just that, the Apple contractors have created more than 62,000 direct jobs in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Apple CEO Tim Cook, who personally inaugurated the Apple store in Mumbai, issued a statement ahead of his visit, praising Indian culture and expressing his excitement regarding the stores. Bureau Report, India Today.
So that was the Mumbai store that was launched by Apple, the first in India. On the 20th will be the big Delhi store. It'll be the second, and then in all the other cities towards the end of the year. That is Apple for you here in India, and it's only the beginning of what they promise is going to be a far bigger journey. This isn't just about iPhones and iPads and iMacs and what have you. This is about jobs here in India, high-skilled, high-paying jobs for Indian engineers and innovators in country. No longer do we have to subsidize outside economies. We begin to serve our very own. Thanks for watching this special coverage. We're taking a very, very quick break here on 5 Live. On the other side, we're switching tracks. The chilling threat tapes of Atiq and son Asad to contractors and builders have begun to emerge after their violent deaths. We're going to tell you much more about that big exclusive next.
As State of War Karnataka begins, a reminder who is the true number one. The 5 big voices speak to us before all the others, from Chief Minister Bommai to Chief Challenger Siddaramaiah, from old warhorse Yadurappa to muscle man DK Shivakumar, and Kingmaker Kumaraswamy. When it's Karnataka, there's no competition. India's #1 election channel. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. As State of War Karnataka kicks off, Karnataka's rulers and challengers, Karnataka's superstars and dreamers, Karnataka's very body and soul, come together on Karnataka's premier stage. Every voice, every issue, every debate. This is what Karnataka wants. India Today Karnataka Roundtable, 22nd April, Bengaluru.
And I want to give all of our viewers a big breaking heads up for the India Today exclusive news break coming up at 6 p.m. with Akshita Nandagopal. Atiq and Asad threat tapes have been accessed by us. The extended version of the tapes, not just the ones that India Today broke earlier today and copied by all other channels. The full-length tapes of Atiq and Asad and the kind of extortion mafia that they ran before their violent deaths. We will be revealing how the Umesh murder in February this year was plotted, the chilling Atiq threat tapes that were made from inside jail, sitting inside Sabarmati jail in Gujarat. You will hear Atiq and you will see his messages on WhatsApp and how he ran his extortion mafia despite being a high security prisoner. That national exclusive is coming up very, very shortly at 6 p.m. with Akshita. One of the most incredible fallouts of the killing of Atiq Ahmed and his brother Ashraf was the Western media coverage of the killing. If you looked at news coverage and news headlines outside India, agency after agency, website after website, newspaper after newspaper, channel after channel portrayed this killing as the death of a former Indian politician, a former Indian lawmaker. Barring maybe one or two websites, and that too in Russia, most Western media coverage labeled this as the killing of an Indian politician, making it look like Atiq Ahmed was never a gangster and a criminal at all. What was this agenda really about? Pooja Shali shows them.
Read this carefully. Former Indian lawmaker slain live on television, state restricts gatherings. If you're not an Indian, you would read this news and feel horrified at how politicians are being shot dead in India and the state is restricting any reaction to it. A simplistic, selective assumption of India, as always. But this has strangely got repeated by many international outlets. Similar headline: lawmaker, former MP, former member of parliament and his brother a state legislator, a politician, and that's about it in the headlines. If you are an Indian, you will know what Atiq Ahmed represented. The horrifying days of guns and gory trail that Atiq Ahmed led. And not simply a politician, but a gangster who grabbed land of poor people, accused of getting anyone killed if they challenged his clout. The fear of his crimes ran deep for decades in former Allahabad, now Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh. More than 100 criminal cases have been filed against him, including of murder of innocent people. He went on to become a lawmaker and sadly got political shelter in India's temple of democracy for the longest time. Appropriate words like gangster and criminal were conspicuous by absence from these headlines on international media. One BBC journalist even described him, attributing to a quote, as Robin Hood, who distributed arms to poor Muslims. What? There are enough news reports from all Indian news organizations where ground reporters have published extensive reports to track timeline with ground understanding of this criminal. But some in foreign press looks like got no time to speak to local reporters, local residents, and found similar headlines reiterated. How is that possible? One can and must raise questions on the killing, demand answers from the state government and police on the lack of security. But to make a criminal sound as just a poor former lawmaker? Without context, without background, why are some pushing a narrative of empathy for Atiq Ahmed? Let me take you a little back for some understanding. A man, Raju Pal, was member of a legislative assembly from Bahujan Samaj Party, was shot dead in broad daylight because he won elections against this Atiq Ahmed and his brother Ashraf in 2005. It was a case of bruised ego that led to the murder of Raju Pal. He was newly married and the post-mortem report said 18 bullets were pumped into him. The Central Bureau of Investigation of this country had a probe into it and named Atiq Ahmed in that report. For 2 hours since that terror had unfolded, our reporters confirmed not one person dared to call the cops. A year later, only one eyewitness came forward against this gangster Neta, Umesh Pal. He had to carry an armed policeman for his safety 24/7 because he had given a statement in the court. But on 24th February, Umesh Pal was shot dead in daylight by multiple shooters. One of them, as per police, caught on CCTV was the son of Atiq Ahmed, Asad, who was later killed in an encounter. Beyond surface, past few decades saw gang wars, shift in loyalties and revenge actions in Uttar Pradesh. As journalists, we must raise important points. Why a late-night medical checkup, lack of security, law and order situation, and all of that is crucial. Institutions are there in the country and they need to follow procedure. Nobody can or should not justify a killing in police custody. But how can all prime international news groups focus more on the word lawmaker of an opposition party and so less on his criminal history? What is this attempt, and to say what? It's bizarre to see that some are trying to give him a softer picture, that he was helping poor people. No, he was accused mainly of illegally grabbing land of the poor people and killed them if someone confronted. Suraj Kali had her land snatched. Her husband went missing. Her brother was electrocuted. Son was shot at and she also survived a shootout. She fought a legal fight for 33 long years like any citizen of this country only because she wanted her land back from this criminal.
अतीक अहमद उतरे और अशरफ उतरे और जो है तो उन्हें गंदी गंदी गाड़ी दर्ज के ही नहीं और जो है तो ताबड़तोड़ गोलियां चलाने लगे।
गोली
मेरे क्या गोली लगी? अब मेरे जो है तो जलता है तो मैं रो रही हूँ। अपनी समय का जब ख्याल करती हूँ तो मेरी रोवाई तो होती है, नींद नहीं पड़ती।
All these years, the system failed her. Policy makers failed her, and now by calling Atiq Ahmed a Robin Hood, some of our colleagues have also failed her. This is just one of many similar cases. People who remember the dark times will tell you in hushed whispers how they feel. But even today, his clout is running deep as they reminisce time of gang wars in Uttar Pradesh. Atiq was booked at merely 17 years of age as a teenager for murder of a businessman. Charges of multiple murders years down the line. This muscle man won local elections and kept winning because nobody dared to challenge him. Until one Raju Pal came forward. He won, but he was killed. He was even accused of attacking the then Chief Minister Mayawati in 1995. Atiq Ahmed kept switching parties. Samajwadi Party, Apna Dal, back and forth. He kept winning because of the criminal clout and money. His ancestral village remembered him as a ruthless one who bribed witnesses, threatened them, and always escaped the law. In 2007, he was also accused of protecting men who were allegedly involved in the gang rape of Madarsa girl students. The incident sparked a massive outcry, prompting the Samajwadi Party to expel him. Questions should be raised as to how and why such men were allowed to contest elections in the country and that this needs to stop. But sadly, some netas are even raising his Muslim identity angle, that he was killed for that reason. The fact is, and I hope they realize, that by equating a dreaded gangster like Atiq Ahmed to the Muslim community at large is helping neither the community nor the issues they want to raise. He was dreaded to such an extent that 10 High Court judges recused from hearing the case on him. As latest as 2018, he got a trader arrested and transported to his prison barrack to sign property papers. Many questions are left unanswered to this killing. Here is what the government has meanwhile announced amid massive political showdown charged at Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. 3-member Judicial Commission to probe the matter. Special investigation team has been formed which will formally probe this incident. Shooters have been identified and sent to judicial custody. My dear fellow international journalist friends, as you inform the world at large, remember that Atiq Ahmed was first a gangster, first a dreaded criminal, first a monster to poor and vulnerable, not simply a lawmaker, and definitely not a